All right, we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to EdTech Mixed Plate. This is episode 35. And this is part 2 of our Google Summit sharing for a DE3 course that Hawaii educators had a chance to participate in. And we're going to get started tonight. We have 4 great educators on tonight who want to share some things that they learned at the Google Summit. And we'll give them each a few minutes to share what they've learned and what they've created for their schools. But before we get to those things, let's introduce ourselves. So I'll start us off. I'm Mike Fricano, and I'm a EdTech. I'm a tech integration specialist at a school. Rachel, want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rachel Armstrong. I'm a tech coordinator at Holly Cool Elementary. Hi to everyone.
Hey, Rachel.
How's it?
Kimberlee, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Kimberlee Johnson. I teach English at Colte High.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us tonight. Jordan.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, yeah, I'm Jordan Gross. I'm a counselor at Castle High School.
All right. Thanks for joining us tonight, Jordan. Carmen, want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Carmen Calderon, and I'm a middle school teacher at Hawaii Technology Academy.
Thanks, Carmen. And Gerry.
Yeah, hi, I'm Gerry Clarin. I'm a biology teacher at Colte High School.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to share. Before we get to the first person, I just have a few things to remind our audience about. So first of all, this is EdTech Mixed Plate, and we do have a website where we've archived all of our past episodes and show notes. And you can find us below my head here at bit.ly/EdTechMixedPlate. Check out the website when you get a chance. And tonight's show notes, as usual, can be found here at bit.ly/mixedplate35. And all of our guests have graciously filled out the show notes and have included everything that they're going to share with us tonight, so we really appreciate that. So for all you audience members out there, check out our show notes for all things that we're going to share tonight. And the document is set to viewing with commenting, so we do encourage our audience to use the comment feature to add any of their own resources if they think of anything, or they can ask questions via the comment tool as well. So feel free to do that. And we do have the Q&A app enabled tonight. So if you're watching live and you want to ask our guests a question, or you have something to add to the discussion, you can add it via the Q&A, and we'll try to check that as frequently as possible tonight. Okay. That's the Q&A app. All right, so we're going to start from the top of the show notes document, and that would be Jordan. So tell us what you want to share.
All right, so at the summit, I kind of just focused on the basics of Google Docs. I'm a counselor at Castle High School, and I don't have a ton of opportunity to teach, but this year I was able to take an advisory class to do with juniors who will need to submit a personal statement, resume, cover letter for their senior portfolio. And so what I did was I wanted the students to collaborate on a document to see what the 3 C's of Castle High School are, which is character, commitment, and competence. And so I had them work on a document, which I'll share in a bit. And soon after that, I just basically made separate documents for each of the students. And what I intend to do is to teach on what are the components of a personal statement, a resume. And I'm going to be using that through Google Slides to teach, and I'll take a pre-assessment with Google Forms, and then at the end of the personal statement, I'll do a post-assessment and then evaluate the personal statements with the rubric that I have from the school. So I'll show you guys, I'll try to share my screen right now just so you guys can see the initial document. So you said entire screen, right?
Yeah, I would just choose entire screen and then just pick the tab that you want to show us.
Okay, so can everybody see my screen now?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so this is the document that had created just a self-discovery worksheet. So the kids would fill in the definition, why is it important, and this is kind of the first time that they were ever really introduced to using Google together, and I didn't have computers for them to use, so I tried it out on all of their phones, and that was a pretty interesting experience because not everybody had the apps, but I just tried to make it work as best as I could. So let's see. After this, this is a template, and let me see where the.
So would each student fill out their own document, or are they collaborating together?
Yeah, so they collaborated. I had one student who had a hard time connecting to the link, so I just had her do it by herself.
Okay.
But what I'll probably do for them is just to separate all of their comments and then share that with them, so when they're writing their personal statement, they can look back at the values that they have.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Switch my. So here's the document they all kind of collaborated on. We had some just technical difficulties. Don't mind the names. I'll just scroll through this really quick so no one can really see. But yeah, that was a document that they all had collaborated on, and I only have the advisory class once a week for about 30 minutes. So it's kind of challenging to finish it all in one section. So my next steps are to give a pre-assessment, and then to actually teach what makes up the personal statement.
Cool.
Yep, and that's pretty much it.
Great. So you said you had they were doing it on their phones?
Yeah, pretty much. I would say 90% of the kids had an iPhone, so I said download Google Drive and Google Docs on your phone, and we all tried it that way.
Yeah. Did you have any hiccups with them all collaborating together on the same document on their phone?
Not too much, except for just that one student that I think when I was just the sharing permissions. I think for hers, when I initially sent it, it wasn't public, and she had already started working on it, so I just let her continue on the project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but for the most part, it was pretty seamless. The kids like working on their phones. Yeah.
They always have it with them, right?
Right. They probably prefer to use that than write on paper. So.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that with us.
All right. You're welcome.
Yeah. You can click on the stop button. And that'll take you back to your. There you go. Now we can see it. Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great idea. That's great because I mean you're not a classroom teacher, right? But you're still finding ways as a counselor to incorporate that into your lessons and your position at your school.
Yep.
It's really awesome.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks for sharing that, Jordan. So next up we have Carmen. Are you ready, Carmen?
Yeah, I'm ready. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I am a middle school teacher working at a blended learning school, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my screen. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes. Yeah, we can now.
So my lesson was a language arts lesson. It's centered on plagiarism. So I wanted to teach students how to correctly cite things and paraphrase and quote things. But I wanted to do it using technology because that always engages the students more and gets them more excited about things. So the program that I used that I learned about in the Google Summit, or that they talked about there, was Lucid Press. Have any of you guys heard of that before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
I did a couple of years ago for kids to create their own nonfiction magazine articles.
Nice.
It's a great.
So it's kind of like the old school Google Publisher in my view, or it's kind of like Glogster. But if you haven't heard about it, it's in your Google Drive under New, More, and then you might have to add it in there. I need to scroll down on my screen. I have a lot of different things that I've added so far. But it is this one. And then it takes a bit to load and open, so I just went ahead and opened it already earlier. This is what the blank screen looks like. There's different templates and things that you can work with, but this is just the blank screen, and it allows you to add text, images, video, and it's really straightforward, easy to use. There's a collaborate button on the top that students can send this to another student and actually work on it simultaneously. So what students did was create a LucidPress creation. I call it a creation because it's not really a document. And they were asked to focus on something that they had learned this school year in either science or history and include a certain number of text boxes, pictures, and videos. And then one thing that I really like to see is just a blended teacher, because I don't get to see my students very often. I do like to hear from them personally. I want them to try to personalize their work as much as possible. So one of the criteria that I had was making it a requirement for them to add their voice onto their final product. Unfortunately, Google Drive and all together with slides and LucidPress and all that does not have a feature where you can add your voice in. Like the traditional PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint allows that. Slides does not, and LucidPress does not either. So one of the programs that I use a lot, it's called Screencast-O-Matic. It's a free voice recording and screen capturing program online. The free version has like the Screencast-O-Matic ad on the bottom right that just says Screencast-O-Matic, but there's no actual pop-ups or anything that come up. So the free version works very well. And this is what the final product looked like. So students had the Screencast-O-Matic on showcasing their LucidPress, which is right here, the Peloponnesian War from these two students. They had their text boxes, their pictures, their video on there, and then they did a Screencast-O-Matic recording their voice and basically reading out loud what they wrote, talking about the pictures and the videos, why they chose them. And then they uploaded that Screencast-O-Matic, which basically was a recording of their voices and their LucidPress onto YouTube for me to watch. So I'll just play the first 20 seconds. I'm hoping the sound will work, but just so you get an idea of what this looked like.
Hi, my name is Daniel. And I'm Leah. And we'll tell you about the Peloponnesian War. This is information about this war. It was a great war against Athens and Sparta.
Were you guys able to hear their voices?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So that was the final product, and then the students were actually able to use this not only as a language arts lesson to show me an example of a quotation and a paraphrase, and the next slide actually shows their works cited page, but they were actually able to use this in their e-portfolio as a work sample for the quarter. So I thought that LucidPress was really valuable, and by far the most fun and new tool that I'd never heard of before was actually Kahoot. So I'm moving away from LucidPress and Screencast-O-Matic to something else. I just want to make sure everyone has heard of Kahoot because since before the Google Summit, I'd never heard of this before. And I felt like every presenter at the Google Summit or every other presenter showed Kahoot or used Kahoot within their presentation. So have you guys heard of Kahoot? Or I guess going to Google Summit, probably all of you guys have at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So if you guys could actually open another tab, I'm just going to play a quick Kahoot with you guys, and that way the audience, since they possibly did not go to Google Summit, they can see what it looks like. So if you guys could just go open a separate tab on the top and go to kahoot.it, your screen should look just like mine does right here, asking for a game pin. And while you guys do that, I'm going to go to a separate tab and just open the Kahoot that I want you to actually play. So just go ahead and go to kahoot.it and wait till I give you the game pin and just disregard what you see right now so I can just get this started on my end.
Okay, and we do have a couple of live viewers, so if you guys are watching live out there and you want to play along with us, just jump on your mobile device and go to kahoot.it and wait for Carmen's code.
And there might be some fun elevator music being played right now. I'm not sure if I can turn that off or not, but it kind of adds to the excitement of it. So can you guys still hear me over the music?
Yep.
Okay. So if you guys could go ahead and enter that game pin right there. It's 380837. And then enter your first names when it asks you to. Again, you should be on this site here and entering your game pin. All right, I have G in there, and Mike, and Rachel, and Jerry. I'm going to give you guys a few more seconds if anyone else wants to jump in. Okay. Jordan's in. Okay, and this is a quiz that I gave students with just random information. It was just for fun. There are 10 questions, but just because of time, we'll just do 1 or 2. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And then here comes the first question. So you want to look at my screen for the question, and you have 20 seconds to answer it, and you're going to have to kind of go back and forth in the tabs. So go ahead and answer it on your screen that you just logged in, but you need to look at my screen to answer the question. So I see 4 people answered. Awesome, everyone answered. So on the top right, I saw 5 answers. I know there's 5 people in here. You actually have 20 seconds to answer the question, and as long as everyone answers, or if everyone answers within that 20 seconds, the game stops right away. So the clock doesn't keep ticking. So we saw here that this is the correct answer, the yellow one. You see the top 5 people always that have the best points. And then we'll do one more question just so you guys haven't see this again.
That was you, Rachel?
I got a lot of background stuff going on here. Sorry, I haven't had to get any comments in. Let me mute it.
So 3 people have answered. There's 2 more people that need to answer. And you have 19 seconds. Awesome. And then again, you can see who got it right, or not specifically what student got it right, but you can see how many of the students got it right, who got it wrong, and then kind of gives you a time as a teacher to also talk about why this is the correct answer for the students that got it wrong. And then you can just keep going through next, and it shows you the top 5 students in the class, which in this class I think there's only 5 people, so I don't want to show that. But if you have a class of 20, you can see the top 5 who are doing the best, and then the students who aren't doing that great, it's not like their names are listed or anything like that. So I really like Kahoot. That was my favorite thing, and Google Summit overall was a really worthwhile experience. So I'm excited to go again next year.
Cool. Yeah, Kahoot's great, and I mean, if you get to the end, you can export the data to your Google Drive in a spreadsheet, which is really awesome. So it's great for formative assessments.
And I did a Kahoot actually just on the SBAC information, like the different sections of the SBAC, and that's the first Kahoot I gave my class after Google Summit. And I did not think I could get my students to be so enthusiastic about the SBAC, because they were so excited to play Kahoot that even if it's a dull subject, you can still get students excited about it.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.
Thanks for sharing that, Carmen.
Yeah, thanks. I like how you did the screencast-o-matic. There is something, Mike, I don't know if you remember it, there's some extension or app I used to use with Google Docs. I think that you can leave voice comments. I'm not exactly sure what it was. It was like voice or something like that. I don't know if it was quite as simple, but there's some way to put voice into Google Docs. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Kaizena, the Google Doc add-on Kaizena does that.
Kaizena's one, but there was another old school one that I think they were trying to make it a little bit better, because what it is, when the teacher went in to leave voice comments or something like that, it changed up the way the actual document looked.
Oh,
so I don't know, that might be something to try to look into too.
Are you talking about MoveNote maybe, Rachel?
No, not MoveNote. This is even like more old school than that. This was like I can't remember exactly how I did it. I would go into their Google Doc, and then you could leave voice feedback for them, and then they'd press play. They got like another link to it. Mike, I'm not sure. It was a long time ago, if you remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think I put it on here a long time ago. Yeah, but MoveNote's really cool too. That's a really good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll look into that. Thank you, Rachel.
Cool. Thanks, Carmen.
I don't know, maybe because that one's really old and not quite as good, Carmen. That might not be the one. I just stick with MoveNote.
Sounds good.
Okay, next up is Kimberlee. Are you ready to share, Kimberlee?
Yep.
All right, go for it.
Okay, so let me see. I'm going to do the thingy. Which one am I doing? Entire screen? Google Hangouts.
Do the entire screen, and then you can choose the tab from your browser that you want to show.
Okay, got it.
There you go.
Okay, so you can see my biz. Okay, so this will be really fast. So I did a Kahoot too. Actually, I did lots of Kahoots. You can see. I won't make you do one. You know how to do it. But they're all right here. So we were doing Greek and Latin roots because I teach 9th grade English. So that's a lot of what we do. And I used it like that too as a formative assessment. And so So the kids didn't have to, you know, when they finally had their quiz, I also have this list on Quizlet too, so they have that way, if you don't know Quizlet, to work with the words. And then I also have all of these. I'm lucky enough to have a TA one period when she's a senior, and when she shows up, it's awesome. And she's made like all of these for me. So then when we play it in class, they can use their phones, they can use, we actually have a lot of Chromebooks because we've written grants to get Chromebooks, and it's awesome. Anyway, so it's a great formative assessment tool. And then you can kind of see here that I used it too because we were doing argument writing. Obviously, it's a pretty big deal. And the kids requested that we do the Mauna Kea 30-meter telescope debate. And so that was awesome. So I actually did it as just like on the fly, made it up in 5 minutes, like this little Kahoot that kind of asked them questions similar to Carmen did, like, you know, which Hawaiian island is Mauna Kea on? And you'd be shocked how many didn't know, right? And then which of these are Hawaiian Islands? What does Mauna Kea mean? And then what do you know about it? And then the last question was just like a survey question, like how do you feel about it? And it was surprising that most of them were split on that issue. And then I asked, you know, how many of you think, one of the survey questions I asked, which of course there's no points attached to those, you can make it so there are points or not points on Kahoot. One of the survey questions that I asked was, what do you think you know about this topic? Do you think you know a lot? Do you think you know enough? Do you think you know not enough? And most of them said not enough, which is good for us, right? Because we want them to be critical thinkers and not just jump to a conclusion and choose a side in an argument, but have something to back it up. So it was just a really good springboard for that too. So not only was it a good formative assessment, but a good springboard too. So I'm a Kahoot fan, and we actually learned about it. We had a digital learning tools PD at our school that I learned about it at, and then when we saw it used at the conference, then it was just like, yeah, this is awesome, right? So, and then I just went Kahoot crazy, and the kids always ask, are we using Kahoot? They love it. They especially love that they get to use their phones and I don't take it away from them. So that's good. The second one that I did is I used, Google Draw was actually one they used at the conference, and it was the session or whatever that we learned it in was the Back to the Future or something one. It was like the 80s themed one. The guy was using the 80s theme. And so we threw it up there as a concept map and said, okay, here's 80s in the middle. Put everything that you can think of, right? He shared the document with us about the 80s. And so everybody was putting things up there, right? Like the DeLorean from Back to the Future and all this stuff. And I thought, oh, how cool. So I was like, yay. And I go back to school and I'm like, you guys, we're going to do this with Greek and Latin roots. So I put one up there and they all had their Chromebooks, and it was a disaster. Because just like when you're editing a spreadsheet with someone else and you cannot be in the same cell, right? It was kind of like that. So I can't hear you guys. Can you guys hear me? Are you not talking? Am I just talking so nonstop? I'm sorry. So that anyway, that they did. I found that it wasn't helpful to do as a whole class, but when I had like a small group of them working on like one route, it was good. Having them play with it kind of took a while for them to get the shapes and everything, and for them like they did on the back to do the layout, to figure out that you could do image options and change the transparency of the background image and stuff like that. That took them a little bit, but they liked it. And a lot of our kids that are in our graphics academy, they really liked Google Draw, so that was awesome. And then and they made some on their own, and then it was shared with all of them, so they got to see it. So that was Google Draw. And the other one that I did that I just love too, although Kahoot has kind of taken over some of the tests that I used to use Google Forms for, but I used Google Forms in this. I feel like it's like a Danielson like observation home run tool to use, because you can use it for pre and post assessment, and it's like a slam dunk, right? So you come, like what I did is I said when I was observed this year, okay, I had this pre-assessment with the kids with Socratic Seminar, you know, like what do you think you need to work on? And these 4 things that Socratic Seminar kind of forces you to do, right? Asking thought-provoking questions, referring to the text. And so they did a pre-one where they determined what their weakness was, right? What their strength was, what their weakness was. So they were going into it kind of focused individually on what they wanted to work on. And then we did this as a post one. So I said, what do you want to work on? I've done several of these, so I don't even know actually if I'm sharing the one that I wanted to. One of the ones that I did, though, because we haven't come up with level questions, I said, share your best level question. I think that was the Mauna Kea one. Actually, let me see if I can find it, because I really liked that one. I thought they came up with amazing questions about that topic, because I asked them when they came up with level questions before it to go home and like ask their family members and ask other people that they knew, ask people who were out with signs, right? Like what questions would they ask if they were to be in a dialogue about the telescope? What would they ask? And so they were sharing their questions here. Why are they protesting now?
Yeah.
You know, if it was built, how would they feel? What if they tore down the other 13? You know, and then how is this related to the annexation in 1893? I mean, it was just like off the hook, right? But it's all with Danielson, right? So this is assessment, this is engagement with students, it's everything that you want it to be. And then you can kind of see like what they said here, like should it be constructed? And this is the after, right? You can see the yes, no's, and maybes. And it's kind of, I mean, it changed, you know, which is what we want them to do. We want them to be critical thinkers and to change. And then this is what class they're in and how I know who did it, right? And then because I have them choose their class color, which that's how we decide like what's for second, third period, I can sort it that way too when I just do the responses. Yeah, that was actually something that my teammate Gerry, who's coming next, he kind of came up with that idea. So we kind of teamed up and he gave me that idea. That's not mine. I'll give him that one. And on that note, I will let him go ahead unless you guys have some questions for me. And I can stop my screen sharing here.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those. Those are great examples of how you can use the different Google apps. And that's kind of the trick with Google Forms. Yeah, you have to think in advance on how you want to sort that data in the end. And so asking questions like what is your class color, or what's your name, or what grade you're in allows you to sort your data afterwards and make it much more organized. So that's a great tip. Yeah. So I did have a question for actually both Kimberlee and Carmen. So what are the reactions from kids when you use Kahoot? Do you find them more engaged? Do they enjoy that a little bit better than a form or some other form of assessment? What are some of the reactions you get?
Well, I would say like the difference between the form and Kahoot, one thing they do like about the form is that it's real time. When you can look at the responses like that and you see, they like the pie chart, right? And they like to see their questions. They do like that about the form, but the Kahoot is that instant gratification that they love, right? And right away they know what place they're in. And I give them like prizes, like little candies or whatever if they're in the top. I was doing the top one, but then I have some that run away, so I had to expand it, but yeah.
Yeah.
But they love it. They love it. They don't even care what it's about. They love it.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what I really like about Kahoot is I think at the end of your Kahoot, it asks them like what their opinion of the actual test is, so they can pick a smiley face or they can rate the value of the quiz, and I think that's also really good information to gather on what your students actually think about the quiz itself, and not just the information within it. That's another really great feature. Cool. Thanks for sharing, Kimberlee.
You're welcome.
Great ideas. All right, so last up is Gerry. Are you ready, Gerry?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, Kim, we come from the same school, and she's like a 5D highly effective teacher.
Shut up.
Hard act to follow. So wait, I'll show my screen. Yeah. Google Hangout inside screen. Yeah, the thing I'm going to share is the concept map thing that Kim talked about.
Cool.
Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Oh wow. Cool.
That looks amazing.
So anyway, what I did was before the kids before the kids were to take the test, I wanted to check for their understanding. So I thought this was like the perfect formative assessment tool to use to see like how much they actually know. And then what I was gonna do at the end, I was just gonna like fill in the gaps, like the information that they needed to know, but they didn't put on the concept map itself. And then if you notice, like they wrote comments on the side, and it said it was fun. And then I did it again for another one, another unit, and then I didn't teach them any tools or anything, but I showed them examples of like other classes, and then they kind of figured out the tools themselves. So yeah, I thought it was like an awesome formative assessment tool, this concept map. And I teach like honors to like SPED inclusion, and I saw the demo also that day when that guy put the 80s up, and then he saw like and then I saw all these people like collaborating, and it was like basically like a stop motion, picture kind of thing. It was pretty awesome. But I noticed that some classes take a longer time than others, so you don't get that like effect, that wow effect. And our classroom is set up where we have a Chromebook for every lab table. So we have 7 Chromebooks, and they work in groups doing that. So
that is great. So what? So your students created these?
yeah, these are all student created. Yeah.
And so where
I
did
gave them like 20 minutes.
I'm sorry.
20 minutes to create it.
That's great.
Yeah.
I like what you said. Did I hear you right that you said that you didn't teach them anything about Google Draw? They did it themselves, right? They
They did it themselves. Yeah.
That's perfect.
And then as soon as someone
That's
put
the
a curve
best way.
line, then somebody else would put a curve line.
Okay, just for the record, they're honors sophomore. My freshman regular ed were not that quick on the uptake.
Yeah. So
once you get the elementary ones, they'll be ready.
Yeah, I know. I think kids are. I see it over the years. The kids are just getting like better and better with technology. Like we give them video projects, and I don't teach them anything really, and then they come back with videos. It's like so insane.
That's awesome. So where did they get some of these pictures from that are in the actual drawings?
They just search for it on Google search.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That is awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Those are some great examples.
Oh, thanks.
And I like how they've expanded the size of the drawing. Which
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. If you grab the bottom right corner of the drawing space, you can expand it.
Yeah, I was wondering because I was trying to print it out for my portfolio, and then I saw like it was like this super long paper. And I was like, wow, how come that one Google Drive or that one Google Draw is so long? Yeah.
Yeah, so that they were able to fit everything in there that they wanted to.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Cool. So were each of those created by one student, or
No, the whole class at the same time, like simultaneously. So it was they had 7 groups of students.
So it was 7 kids working on one.
No, 4 kids per group, and then seven groups.
Oh, I'm sorry. So 4 kids.
Yeah, a whole class. It was a whole class.
That is great.
Yeah, and I didn't tell them what to put, so people they just started like working together on their own.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm putting osmosis, or I'm doing diffusion, or something like that.
Okay, so did they have any trouble piecing it together within their groups?
Yeah, at first they did, but then they just keep tinkering with it, and they start figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I think when you start seeing data like going up, or like you start seeing things going up on the screen, because I project the whole screen to the whole class, right? Just like how the presenter did, and people want to get their message across, I guess, whether it be like, hey, I know this stuff, and I want the class to know.
That's awesome. Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Gerry.
Oh yeah, no problem.
All right. Well, that's all we have. Unless anybody else wants to share anything else, I think we're pretty much done. I just wanted to say thanks to our guests, Kimberlee, Jordan, Carmen, and Gerry. Thanks for coming on and braving the live hangout with us. Really appreciate it. You guys did an amazing job.
Well, thank you guys.
Pretty amazing stuff. And just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so that's going to do it for our EdTech Mix Plate tonight. Just a couple reminders for our audience out there. Check out our website, bit.ly/EdTechMixPlate. And if you want to check out all of the amazing things that our guests shared tonight, you can do that on our show notes document, and that's at bit.ly/MixPlate35. And with that, we are out. Good night, everyone.
All right, good night.
Have a great week.
Good night.